Trent was already drunk when they handed him the giant novelty envelope. Everyone clapped. Someone whistled. The VP of Operations got up and called him the visionary behind our most strategic vendor relationships, which was rich, considering the man once emailed a supplier a JPEG of a stapler by accident and demanded a refund. But there it was, Trent, grinning like a used car salesman, waving around his prize, a $13,000 luxury cruise voucher for leadership excellence. I stood at the back of the conference room, holding a paper plate with half a brownie, and pretending not to hear my own name mispronounced as they called me next. Amanda Stroganoff. Stronghold? Strong, she's here. Come on down, I smiled. Or I moved the muscles around my mouth in a way that wouldn't get me accused of being a bitter witch. 10 years at Renslow Systems. I'd optimized our entire procurement pipeline, negotiated us out of 3 vendor lawsuits, and personally fixed a shipment routing algorithm after Trent deleted the GitHub repo because he thought it was spam. I'd kept us alive during 2 supplier shutdowns, both pandemics and 1 warehouse fire. I had the burn scars to prove it. They handed me an envelope, too, thin, no weight to it. A little something for our quiet rock star, the HR lead chirped. Couldn't do it without you. Inside, a single $2 scratch-off ticket. The interns clapped, God bless them. But even they looked like they just watched someone get pantsed on live television. Trent raised his paper cup toward me, swaying. Buy us around in Cabo, Mandy. And that's when I felt it, not rage, not even sadness, just stillness, like all the sound in the room had drained out and left me watching it from behind a thick window. I smiled, nodded, returned to the back of the room, and slipped the ticket into my coat pocket like a receipt I didn't need. On the train ride home, the woman next to me was FaceTiming her cat. A guy across from me was clipping his fingernails like he was at a damn spa. I pulled out the scratcher, mostly out of muscle memory. I scratched lazily with the edge of my badge clip, half listening to some teenager blaring TikToks at full volume. 3 matching gold bars. Prize box, $120 million. I stared at the card, blinked, looked again. My pulse didn't spike. My face didn't twitch. It was like my nervous system had short-circuited. I reached into my purse, pulled out my reading glasses, and scanned the back of the card for fine print. There it was, clear as day, valid, verified, no gimmicks. I was, as of 6:17 p.m. on a Thursday, newest member of a club that would never take someone like me on purpose. I didn't scream, I didn't faint. I just folded the ticket back into the envelope and zipped my purse shut. Then I sat back, closed my eyes, and thought, well, this changes things. And listen, before I tell you what I did next, just know this. I wasn't planning revenge, not yet. I didn't want to ruin anyone. I just wanted to disappear, walk away with some dignity. But the thing about being invisible is, it gives you options. You can listen, you can learn. And if you've got just a little bitterness left in you and say, $120 million suddenly burning a hole in your tote bag, you can build something cold, clean, and precise. But we'll get there. Oh, and before I forget, if you're one of the 90% who somehow keeps listening to these stories but hasn't hit that subscribe button, come on. It's free. It keeps the lights on for the people bringing this chaos to life. Maybe even toss a like if you've ever been given a fun little prize by a man who couldn't find the printer tray. Really means a lot to the team. Anyway, I got off at my stop, walked home like nothing happened, and fed my cat. His name is Morris. He eats better than Trent. Friday morning, I didn't clock in. I didn't zoom in either. My out-of-office auto-reply just said, taking a personal day. Back Monday, that was it. No inspirational quote, no explanation. I knew it'd drive them nuts. By 9:12 a.m., I got a text from Kelly in finance. Everything okay? Trent's walking around calling you Lotto Queen. I didn't respond. At 10:07, another from Derek in DevOps. He just said, hope she didn't actually cash it. She'll be back once she sees the tax bracket. By noon, Trent was apparently strutting around with a post-it crown taped to his head, crowing about how he was going to ask HR if he could reassign my vendors, while she's off manifesting crystals or whatever. Meanwhile, I was seated across a mahogany coffee table from 2 sharply dressed men in a dim hotel lounge in Jersey, sipping mediocre espresso and reviewing a 49-page purchase agreement that smelled like toner and destiny. One of the men, Stefan, white-collar vampire chic with a Yale ring, pointed to paragraph 17 on page 36. For this clause, he said, if silent partner divests more than 50% of their shares, operational control transfers immediately to the buyer. No board vote required. No competitive bid needed, just a signature. I didn't even blink. And silent partner is ready to sign? Stefan nodded. Emergency liquidation. Divorce. They want out fast. We're lucky to catch this window. Lucky? No, not lucky. Just watchful. See, what Trent never knew, what no one at Renslow Systems ever bothered to ask, was that I'd been quietly watching this vendor's cap table for 3 years. The supplier, Visager Integrated, wasn't some faceless monolith. They were family-owned, messy, vulnerable. They supplied 92% of our hardware. We didn't have a plan B. Trent thought they'd roll over anytime he barked, but I'd seen the cracks forming. A silent investor with a foot halfway out the door. A debt schedule that leaned a little too hard on net 90s. And most importantly, a structural clause tucked deep inside the original shareholder agreement that made one thing clear. If anyone, could buy out silent partner A, they'd inherit majority control of the entire vendor operation. That someone now was me. I had already formed a holding company, Northwind Strategic, Delaware-based. 2 layers of anonymity between me and the actual ownership filing. My lawyer, a compact and methodical woman named Fiona, handled the filings while I quietly checked the payment wire instructions 3 times. The money, about $43 million after legal and closing costs, would hit on Sunday. Which meant by Monday, I wouldn't just be a woman with a scratch-off win. I'd be the owner of the one company Renslow Systems literally could not live without. It wasn't rage. It wasn't vengeance. Not yet, it was architecture. I was drawing blueprints with every clause, reinforcing steel with every comma. Every time I remembered Trent saying things like "we own those guys," I added another layer to the structure. Every time he forwarded my vendor audit spreadsheets back to me with a meme attached, I tightened another bolt. I didn't text anyone back that day. Didn't call HR, didn't check Slack. I had my own office now. It just happened to be a hotel bar with a fax machine and a front desk that didn't ask questions. When the deal review was done, I ordered a room upstairs, locked the door, and stared out the window at the turnpike lights. I thought about the exact moment on Monday when Trent would ask me, for a status update on the Visager bulk order discount, and how I'd smile and say, "Sure, let me check with ownership." But I didn't feel triumphant, not yet, just sharp, like something inside had finally snapped into place. By midnight, the documents were signed. My holding company was now officially the majority shareholder of Visager Integrated. Nobody knew, not HR, not the CFO, and definitely not Trent. But Monday was coming. The shell company, Northwind Strategic, didn't even have a logo yet, but it had teeth, sharp ones. By Saturday morning, we'd secured controlling interest. By noon, I had the keys to the vendor's data room and legal archives. Visager COO, a wiry man named Paul who always smelled faintly like WD-40 and menthols, shook my hand and muttered, "Thank God it's not some hedge fund." I didn't tell him who I really was. Not yet. I didn't need champagne. I needed PDFs. I sat in the executive briefing suite above the vendor warehouse, bare bones, dusty, the kind of office where a plaque still read "No FAX equals no contract," and started reading. My lawyer, Fiona, flew in that afternoon with a hard drive and a look on her face that said we were about to burn a few bridges so cleanly they'd vaporize before anyone noticed the match. "Here's every active agreement Visager holds with Renslow," she said, clicking through folders like she was disarming a bomb. MSA, discount ladders, preferred partner letters, compliance attachments. And this, she tapped a file, is the kicker. It was dated 9 months ago. Subject line, pricing compliance update urgent. Trent had personally emailed Visager's legal team and tried to ram through a penalty clause, 3% deduction per day on any shipment over 48 hours late. A weaponized SLA clause, meant to make Trent look like a hardline negotiator to the board. Visager's original response was polite but firm, "This isn't viable for our logistics model." And then, there it was, my name. I'd followed up a week later, removed the clause, replaced it with a buffer window and a multi-tier delay escalation. I knew their system. I knew their factory floor. I didn't punish partners for not bending over backward. That's why they trusted me. That's why the company still had hardware. Trent never noticed the change, didn't read the final version. Probably thought his tantrum had worked. Fiona leaned back, sipped her coffee, and said we could reinstate the clause with penalties retroactive to original submission. Add interest. Maybe backdate a few fees they swallowed. I stared at the screen. My reflection looked tired but alert, like a pilot before takeoff. "Do it," I said. "Let's make it bleed." From there, we went hunting. Every order, every memo, every smug bullet point email Trent had sent demanding greater leverage over our vendor ecosystem. I found a call transcript where he told the Visager logistics manager that Renslow could easily replace them with a cheaper Chinese knockoff if they didn't stop playing hardball. This was 2 months before the same logistics manager overnighted a part Trent needed to fix a demo rig mid-conference, at no charge. The guy had even included a handwritten note. "Good luck with the pitch, hope this helps." I printed that email, highlighted the insult, folded it and slid it into my folder. The man had kicked the ladder he was standing on, and now I owned the ladder. Back in my hotel room, I made a checklist. Every term Trent had bullied, every discount he demanded, every time he'd cut off a supplier rep mid-sentence and then made me smooth it over afterward with cookies, apologies, and expedited invoices. I remembered all of it. Now I had paperwork to match. I drafted the directive that would go out Monday morning. No more sweetheart pricing. No more priority lead times. Penalty clause reinstated. Terms tightened. Grace windows gone, and the kicker, all of it legally binding under our newly revised supplier governance framework, signed by majority ownership. That meant me. I wasn't doing this out of pettiness. Eddie would have been spiking his coffee with laxatives and posting his Slack history to the company wiki. This was different. This was structural reallocation of control. This was legally sanctioned equilibrium restoration. And when it was done, when every clause was reloaded, every invoice restructured, every smug assumption reversed, I felt it. That rare and eerie calm that only comes after months, years of being dismissed, minimized, talked over, and laughed at. It was like I'd spent a decade collecting little stones, and now I finally had a slingshot. I didn't text Kelly back when she asked if I was okay. Didn't reply when Derek said Trent was planning to absorb procurement under sales. I just smiled, emailed Fiona the final draft of the vendor directive, and said, send this out Monday morning. 8 o'clock sharp. We were no longer playing the same game. I'd bought the board. Monday morning, 8:54 a.m. I walked through the glass double doors at Renslow Systems with a dozen donuts from the place across town that everyone forgot about because they didn't deliver. I was in early enough that the break room still smelled like burnt hazelnut pod coffee and microwave oatmeal, the scent of broken dreams and compliance deadlines. I set the box down, peeled back the lid, and posted a sticky note, free, take 2, you've earned it. I even brought napkins. Coordinated, seasonal napkins with tiny golden snowflakes. Trent was already in, fresh off his taxpayer-funded vacation for leadership excellence, looking like a rotisserie chicken in khakis. He had that post-cruise glow, which in his case meant sunburn, smugness, and the faint stench of too much cologne trying to drown out tequila sweat. He was leaning against a junior analyst's desk, one foot crossed over the other like a suburban godfather, regaling her with tales of his vendor-taming safari. They started pushing back on the lead times, so I called their bluff. Told them if they didn't want our volume, I'd take the whole damn operation offshore. Guess who got their full shipment the next morning? He laughed at his own punchline. Loud, chest deep. The kind of laugh that demands witnesses. I smiled and gave a little wave. Morning. He looked over, spotted me, and lit up. Slapped me on the shoulder like we were frat brothers. Well, if it isn't the lotto queen herself. Glad you didn't take that ticket and run off to Bali or something. I laughed lightly. Yeah, that'd be wild. He leaned in, mock whispered, you did check it, right? You didn't actually win, did you? Then added before I could answer, I mean, you'd be out of here in a heartbeat. I shrugged. What can I say? I'm loyal. He laughed again, this time with a slight snort, and walked off to go tell the same story to someone else. I made my way to my desk. The spreadsheets were exactly where I'd left them. So was the post-it on my monitor that said call Visayjar, a little inside joke to myself now. My inbox had 47 unread emails, most of them with subject lines like urgent, pricing review slides, and final queue for lead time projections needed today. I opened the first one, minimized it immediately, and instead pulled up a Word document labeled Letter of Resignation Final Draft. It had been sitting there for months. I'd reworded it so many times it had started to read like a breakup text. Dear Trent, after much reflection, I've decided, delete. I clicked once, hovered, and then dragged the file straight to the recycle bin. Empty bin? Yes, it felt better than I expected. Not like freedom, like leverage. I took a sip of my coffee, black, bitter, familiar, and opened Slack. The company channel was full of Monday platitudes. Let's crush it this week. Back in the saddle? Who took the good creamer? I smiled. Typed donuts in the break room. Get 'em before accounting hoards the jelly ones. Trent chimed in seconds later. Amanda's back and bribing us. Must be pricing weak smiling face with sunglasses god. He was predictable. If he'd had even a sliver of imagination, he might have noticed the unfamiliar man in the glass-walled conference room just off the atrium. Clean-cut, charcoal suit, leather portfolio open on the table. My lawyer, Fiona, doing her best I'm just here for compliance impression. She even had a name badge, Vendor Liaison Northwind Strategic. Nobody asked. Nobody noticed. Not yet. The quarterly pricing review was scheduled for 10 o'clock sharp, in an hour. I'd watched Trent walk into that room with his overconfident swagger, throw out his usual demands, and lean on the fantasy that he still controlled the world we all worked in. I leaned back in my chair, stretched, and looked around at the office I had once considered my second home. It was still beige, still stale, still dotted with potted plants in various stages of trauma. But today, it felt different. Today, I wasn't just a part of the system. I owned the lever that powered it. The meeting was set for 10 o'clock a.m., conference room 2C per usual. I sent out the invite late Friday so it'd hit inboxes fresh on Monday morning, just enough lead time to feel routine, not enough to stir suspicion. Subject line, Q4 pricing review plus compliance updates. I added a note. Vendor liaison will attend remotely for documentation integrity. That vendor liaison was Fiona, of course, but I didn't say her name. I knew better than to offer up details Trent could Google. She was already seated in the glass conference room when I walked past at 9:42, her laptop open, Bluetooth earpiece clipped, a single legal pad in front of her like she'd stepped off a government audit team and was 2 seconds away from citing someone for improper stapling technique. I tapped my phone under the table and sent her a message on Slack. Wait until he brings up the discount, Fiona. Popcorn outside the room. Trent was holding court in the kitchenette. He had a whiteboard marker in his hand and was sketching a flowchart of something. It looked like a spaghetti plate with arrows. Listen, he was saying to the CFO, we don't ask for the discount. We expect it. They need our volume. That's how procurement works. They dance, we clap. The CFO nodded, smiling thinly, holding a mug that said #1 spreadsheet warrior. He looked like a man who hadn't blinked since 2014. I set up the projector, loaded the deck. Slide 1, vendor performance summary, Q3. Clean, simple, boring enough that nobody would notice it was a placeholder. My real slides, the directive, new terms summary, retroactive penalties, those were hidden. File names disguised as things like Budget Review 2023 V3 Draft Final, no edit in a folder labeled Legacy Finance. Anyone snooping would assume it was left over from someone else's failed budget cycle. 9:58. People trickled in. Some brought laptops. Some brought just attitude. Trent arrived last, holding a smoothie like it was a chalice. His lanyard flipped backward and his shirt just slightly untucked for maximum relatable executive energy. He saw Fiona through the glass and leaned toward me. Who's that? Vendor liaison. Sitting in for documentation review, I said casually like I'd just mentioned the weather. He didn't ask further. He never asked further. That was his whole thing, skate over the surface, assume nothing beneath it could bite. He dropped into his chair and clapped once loud. Let's make this quick. I've got an 11:30 with product, 10 o'clock a.m. on the dot. I clicked the remote and started the slideshow. First slide, a few charts, trends, shipment reliability, yawn-worthy stuff. I let it run background noise while people settled. Then Trent said it, right on cue, all right, let's talk turkey. Same as always, bulk order discount, 60-day lead time, and the Q2 pricing tier. Sound good? I didn't answer. I just turned slightly toward Fiona. She adjusted her glasses, clicked her pen, and said calmly, before we proceed, I have a directive to read into the record, per the vendor's governance requirements. Trent raised an eyebrow, smiling. A directive? Fiona opened the folder, laid out a document with clinical precision, and began. Effective immediately, pursuant to Clause 7.1 of the Master Supply Agreement, and under new controlling ownership. The following terms will replace prior pricing structures. She spoke clearly, crisply, like she was dictating scripture to a jury. All discounts nullified. Pricing reset to Tier 1 retail. Lead times recalibrated based on volume capacity. Penalty clause for delayed shipments, reinstated retroactive to March 1. The room went quiet, except Trent. Trent laughed. Wait, what, says who? Fiona didn't even flinch. She flipped to the final page of the directive and slid it across the table. There it was, the signature, Amanda Stroh, CEO Northwind Strategic Holdings. Owner Visager Integrated. Trent stopped smiling. I watched it all from the far end of the table, hands folded neatly, expression neutral. Not smug, not angry, just patient, like someone waiting for a souffle to collapse under its own weight. The match was struck. The room just didn't know it was already on fire. Trent didn't like silence. He liked dominance theater, words thrown like darts, laughter that demanded backup singers. So when Fiona finished reading the new vendor terms aloud and slid the signed directive across the table, his reaction wasn't panic. It was performative dismissal. He smirked, picked up the paper like it was a napkin someone handed him at a kid's lemonade stand. Cute, he said. Really. We all know how this works. He stood, walked around the table a few steps like a coach psyching up his team, and then pointed at the CFO, who blinked up at him like a frog on a lily pad. We're sticking with Q2 pricing. Same bulk tier, same lead times, 60 days, no penalties, or we walk. Then he clapped his hands together once, sharp, final. Let's make this quick. Sound good, Amanda. He turned to me with that expectant grin he always wore after pretending to lead. The same one I'd seen when he told the intern to circle back to the folks in accounts without knowing who any of them were. I met his eyes, calm, steady, no smile, no theatrics. Noted, I said, that was it. One word. He waited. Probably expected me to launch into a slide or a plea or some bland rebuttal. When I didn't, he nodded to himself and turned back to the room like a magician who just pulled a rabbit from an empty inbox. See? He said, grinning at the CFO. Handled. Honestly, this vendor stuff gets overblown. You just have to set the tone. He dropped into his seat again, slurped the last of his smoothie, and shot a wink at the new hire from finance, who visibly recoiled. Fiona said nothing. She just flipped to the next page in her legal pad and waited. CFO didn't look convinced. He kept glancing at the man seated beside me, the one Trent hadn't noticed before. Medium build, quiet, pinstripe suit, leather briefcase, the kind of guy who blended in with the potted plants until you realized he was holding the blueprints to your whole building. Trent caught the CFO's eye line and frowned. What? He asked. The CFO cleared his throat. Sorry, just. Who's that with Amanda? Finally, Trent looked. Really looked. Man next to me opened his briefcase and pulled out a copy of the vendor's updated master agreement. Thicker now, with red line inserts that glowed like stop signs. I'm here on behalf of Northwind Strategic, the man said evenly. Amanda requested we be present to validate all terms under new ownership. New ownership? Trent laughed again, but it landed hollow this time. Of Visager? You think I don't know who owns our vendors? The man said nothing. Neither did I. The silence swelled, grew teeth. Trent looked back down at the directive, now slightly crumpled from his earlier showmanship. His eyes hovered over the signature again. Amanda Stroh. He looked back at me, blinking. You signed this? I tilted my head slightly. Look again, I said. He did, saw the title, owner, and there it was, the flicker. The first crack in the porcelain grin. His mouth opened slightly, but nothing came out. No comeback, no joke. Just the slow realization that the script had changed and he wasn't holding the pen. But he still didn't believe it, not fully. Denial is a hell of a drug. He turned back to the room with a forced chuckle. Okay, very funny. Real elaborate stunt. You had me going there. He waited for laughter. None came. Even the intern stopped taking notes. The CFO cleared his throat again, this time with a subtle tremble. I think we should hear the rest of the terms, he said. Trent opened his mouth, then closed it. Looked at me like a dog that just realized it pissed off the wrong fence post. I kept my voice even. We'll walk through the changes, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to set your expectations first. Fiona nodded, which will now file as your formal position, timestamped and acknowledged. Trent blinked. His face had that colorless quality now, like all the blood had migrated south in search of a better host. Tried to speak again. Couldn't. I clicked to the next slide. Title, Revised Payment Schedules and Lead Time Implications. Trent swallowed. The CFO leaned forward, his brow furrowed, and the man with the briefcase clicked his pen once like a starting pistol. The match had been lit. Now the fire had air. The moment had the kind of tension you could smell, like metal and ozone before a summer storm. Nobody touched their coffee. Nobody blinked. Trent kept scanning the directive like it would suddenly morph into a birthday card or an HR prank. But it didn't. It stayed real, stayed solid, stayed signed. Then Fiona's associate, Nathan, the man in the pinstripe, adjusted his tie, cleared his throat, and finally spoke. Apologies for the interruption. I have a formal directive to submit on behalf of Visajar Integrated's new majority owner. He slid the document across the table like it was a chess piece landing square on a king. Everyone stared at it. Legal header. Multiple signatures. Notarized. A small embossed seal gleamed in the corner. Effective immediately, Nathan continued, voice as crisp as a courtroom transcript, Renslow Systems is subject to standard commercial pricing. All legacy discounts are terminated. Penalty clauses for late payment and shipment delays are reinstated in accordance with Section 14, subsection D. Lead times for non-priority accounts are now 90 business days, pending volume review. Silence, then a scoff, loud and sharp. Trent. He sat back in his chair, arms folded, still clinging to the tatters of his crew's glow like a life vest. What is this? Some boilerplate scare tactic? Who the hell signed this garbage? Nathan calmly flipped to the last page and rotated the document so it faced the room. He tapped a single line near the bottom. One signature, followed by a second. Clean. Legal. Amanda Stroh, CEO, Northwind Strategic Holdings, majority owner, Visajar Integrated. Trent blinked like he'd just been slapped with a fish. The CFO leaned forward instinctively, squinting at the ink like it might offer an escape hatch. Fiona slid her own copy into the middle of the table and said softly, all documentation was submitted through Delaware filing on Saturday and certified by the vendor's internal counsel as of 6:18 p.m. yesterday evening. Our team will circulate an updated copy of the master agreement by end of day. Trent reached for the paper like it might explode, flipping through the pages too fast to absorb anything, still caught somewhere between disbelief and bad improv. This isn't funny, he snapped. This is illegal. You can't just, what is this, some kind of personal stunt? I assure you, I said, voice level, nothing about this is personal. It's procedural. He looked at me and for the first time really looked. Not at Amanda from procurement, not at the spreadsheet whisperer or vendor babysitter, not at the woman who once got his ass out of a late shipment firestorm with a single midnight call. This was someone else now. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. Someone near the end of the table, probably Jerry from finance, whispered, wait. She owns Visajar now? The room shifted. A current, a pulse. Like people realizing they were sitting in the wrong theater and the movie just got violent. Another voice from the marketing lead, so everything runs through her now? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Fiona did it for me. To be clear, she said, Visajar's supply contracts now answer directly to Northwind Strategic's ownership protocols. Amanda, as CEO of Northwind, will be the final escalation path for any operational, pricing, or compliance issues regarding fulfillment. Trent was starting to sweat. You could see the sheen gathering at his temples beneath the hair gel. His tie suddenly looked too tight. His voice, when it came, was thinner now. You bought them. Why? Why would you do this? I met his eyes. You always said they were ours to control. I figured it was time someone actually did. Buzz, that's what the room sounded like now. A low murmur of side whispers, fingers tapping phones under the table, Slack messages already flying. The CFO leaned back like he was calculating in reverse, trying to remember every pending order, every scheduled shipment, every contract assumption that just disintegrated under the fluorescent lights. Trent finally looked down at the directive again. This time, he didn't scoff. He just stared, still pretending to read, but now reading for survival. And I just waited. Let the new reality settle in. Let the heat crawl up his collar. Let him realize that all his taming had just led him into a cage, when I now held the keys to. Trent's hands shook as he flipped back through the packet, this time slower, like he was hoping the words might change if he stared long enough. The sweat was now undeniable. His forehead had that glazed donut sheen, and his button-down clung to his ribs in all the wrong places. I half expected him to start swearing in PowerPoint. This is insane, he spat. You can't do this. You can't just change the terms. We have contracts, we have protections. This'll never hold up. Nathan, still calm as a priest, replied, all term modifications fall within Visajar's contractual rights, per clause 5.1, and the controlling interest change was executed under emergency liquidation parameters. Precedent supports, I don't care about precedent, Trent shouted, slamming his palm on the table. I'm going to legal. I'll call legal right now. They'll bury this stunt in a week. I leaned back in my chair and crossed my legs, my voice smooth and quiet like I was explaining printer settings. You're welcome to call them, I said. But I'd remind you, I am the designated escalation path on all supplier contracts and procurement compliance. If legal needs clarification, they'll end up on my calendar. Silence. A long, wide silence, like someone had opened a door and let in winter. The CFO blurted, wait, so all our fulfillment requests are now considered non-priority. Fiona didn't miss a beat. Correct. As of this morning, Renslow Systems is classified as a standard tier client. No volume protections, no preferred pricing. All shipments are subject to availability and standard lead times. How long? The CFO whispered. Nathan opened his leather folder, checked a number, and replied, your new estimated lead time is 90 business days. 90? The CFO's face collapsed. We've got $14 million in open POs sitting in pipeline. Product rollouts, holiday clients, government contracts. If those slip, where he stopped. Just stopped, because there it was. The realization, it wasn't a bluff. This was the new structure. Trent was still shaking, rifling through the documents like they were Sudoku puzzles, and the solution was hiding behind a comma. Okay, he stammered. Fine, you got your little stunt. You made your point. We'll renegotiate, get back to the usual terms. You want to do this on the record? Fine, we can talk. Just roll back the penalties and we'll discuss volumes. I tilted my head. To renegotiate, I said, you'll need to do so under the current pricing structure. No discounts, no incentives, net 30 hard stop. Trent's face drained. But no sweetheart deals, I said. No wink and nudge waivers. No magic PowerPoints. If you want product, you pay what everyone else pays, possibly more. Someone on the Zoom call unmuted Nancy from the board. Sorry, what's happening? We're hearing rumors that procurement's been restructured. She sounded too calm, dangerously calm, the kind of calm that precedes boardroom bloodletting. Before Trent could speak, another window popped up on the shared screen, another board member, then another. Suddenly, we had an audience. Someone's mic was still on. You could hear muffled crying. Or maybe it was just hyperventilation. Hard to tell. I tapped a few keys and pulled up the visual cue diagram Fiona had prepared. Every other client ahead of Renslow. 58 rows, all marked priority, all paying full price. I turned the screen toward the group, spoke like I was presenting a weather forecast. This is your new position in the fulfillment queue. Trent stood, then sat back down like the floor moved. This can't happen, he whispered. It was already happening, and there was no off switch, no backpedal. He'd never bothered to learn how the system worked. He just assumed someone like me would always patch the holes. That I'd smile, absorb the damage, and keep the machine running on duct tape and long nights. But now I was the machine, and he was the overdue invoice. Trent's eyes were glassy now. His mouth was open but motionless, as if the muscles had forgotten how to form objections. The board call had gone silent, just tiny blinking icons, and the occasional static crackle of someone trying not to scream. Fiona sat with her hands folded neatly in her lap, the picture of serene execution. Nathan was already organizing the paperwork back into his briefcase like the sentencing had been delivered, and all that remained was cleanup. I gave it a beat. Let the silence ferment. Then I leaned forward slightly, my voice soft but crisp enough to cut tile. Oh, and one more thing, Trent. He looked up, eyes pleading, mouth twitching toward a smile that couldn't land. I kept my tone friendly, even warm. You remember that penalty clause, the one you tried to muscle them into accepting last year? The one I pulled before you could tank the relationship completely? He blinked. Once. Twice. I slid a new sheet of paper across the table. It glided silently over the laminate like a guillotine descending. Well, I said we decided to reinstate it. Pause. Retroactive to March. The CFO reached for the paper with trembling fingers and read it silently at first, then aloud because the room required confirmation. Outstanding penalty assessment, $2.6 million USD, due within 15 business days or delivery schedule terminates. The sound it made when he read the number was almost religious, like he was naming a storm. Trent jerked back like the paper had burned him. You can't backdate, no, that clause was rejected, no, Trent, I said, still calm, still polite. You tried to force it, but it was never signed. Now it is, and it's legally binding. My legal team's already confirmed viability. His face sagged, fully, as if the bones had softened under the weight of the realization. That's extortion. Mumbled, no, I said, that's leverage. something you always pretended to have but never actually earned. The CFO was already opening his laptop, muttering numbers under his breath. If we don't ship by the 18th, the governmental rollout falls out of compliance. That's breach, that's a class action trigger. One of the board members on the Zoom call finally unmuted Rachel, head of investor relations. Amanda, she said flatly, is there any flexibility on the invoice? I turned toward the screen. Of course, I said, smiling gently. Full payment, 15 business days or delivery cease. Entirely. Trent's hand slapped the table. This'll destroy us. You're going to crash the company. I stood up, smoothed my jacket, packed my laptop without urgency. Trent, I said quietly, you already crashed it. I'm just handing out the bill. I turned toward the door, paused, and looked back once. Good luck explaining this to the board. Then I walked out. No hair flip, no mic drop. Just the calm exit of someone who finally stopped cleaning up after people who never deserved her. Behind me, the conference room erupted, not in shouting, but in desperation. Phones dialing, chairs scraping, muted sobs returning to full volume. I didn't care. I didn't need to hear it. I passed the break room on the way out. Someone had finally taken the last donut. Jell-filled, I smiled. Victory always tastes better when it's not sugar-coated. You're the real MVPs of the office jungle. Thanks for watching. Smash that subscribe button, or the coffee pot might just forget your next brew.